Sado, the rooftop of the Pesantren. Dear Kak Rafi, please keep my name private. I have been a loyal listener of late-night horror programs for many years, and today I want to share an incident that happened to me long ago. Even now, I still cannot explain it. The incident took place around 2003 or 2004 when I was working as a language teacher at a pesantren near Surabaya, West Java. During Ramadan, most of the teachers went home early, but some students who were memorizing the Quran stayed longer. Because I lived nearby, I was often asked to help supervise the grounds at night. After a few days, even the remaining teachers left, and only the head of the pesantren, Pak Hadi, and I were still there. One night, around midnight, I stepped out to wash up and noticed something strange on the roof of the Pesantren mosque. It looked as if pale lights and moving shadows were leaping across the rooftop. At first I froze. I had heard many stories since childhood about unseen beings gathering in deserted places of worship at night, and that thought came back to me immediately. Still, curiosity got the better of me. I quietly climbed the stairs toward the roof, whispering prayers under my breath. The rooftop door was shut, but there was a narrow gap beneath it. When I bent down to look through, I saw two human figures dressed in white, crouching near a jar of water and muttering over it. For a second, I thought I was looking at something inhuman. My throat went dry. I wanted to call out, but my voice would not come. Then, one of the figures stood and moved toward the door. I nearly ran, but before I could, I heard a familiar voice. Ustaz Farid, please don't be angry. It was not a spirit. It was two teenage students from the Pesantren, Rizal and Imam. They had sneaked up there in the middle of the night because they wanted to summon something unseen. They had brought water, a bottle, and a glass jar because they believed an old ritual would force a jinn to appear. I scolded them immediately and told them to stop, but before they obeyed, something happened below us. A violent crash rose from the lower side of the mosque as if two large animals had slammed into the ground. Then came another sound, louder than the first. The trees around the mosque shook as though a storm had broken over the courtyard. Even though the night air had been still only moments before, dust and debris swirled upward near the drainage pipe. The boys turned pale. I grabbed them and ordered them downstairs at once. That should have been the end of it. But from that night onward, strange things began happening to me. After tahajjud prayer, while I sat alone counting dhikr with my tasbih, something yanked the beads hard from my hand. I opened my eyes and saw no one. On another night, while I was in sujud, it felt as though someone dragged both me and my prayer mat backward across the floor. I told no one. I was ashamed, frightened, and afraid that people would think I was imagining it. The most terrifying event happened 3 days after Eid. That night, my wife Nabila and our daughter were away visiting family in Indramayu. My parents were also not at home, so I slept alone. Sometime before dawn, I suddenly woke up, not in my bed, but in a narrow, filthy place that smelled of damp earth and decay. I reached out in the dark and touched packed soil on both sides of me. There was barely enough room to move. I was lying inside a grave. Panic hit me so hard that I could barely breathe. My chest pounded, and my limbs felt numb. I tried to shout, but only a broken sound came out. Time disappeared. I do not know whether I fainted from fear or from lack of air. When I opened my eyes again, daylight was entering from above. Somehow, I found the strength to push upward and scramble out. I collapsed beside the grave and saw, to my horror, that I was in an old cemetery on the outskirts of town, nearly 8 kilometers from my home. I do not know how I got there. People later found me near the cemetery mosque and carried me home. A respected kiai from a nearby village recited prayers over me and told me that whatever had been disturbed that night on the mosque roof had not forgiven my interference. I cannot prove that explanation, and I am not claiming it as fact. I only know what happened to me. Since then, I have never allowed anyone under my care to play with rituals, dares, or attempts to summon the unseen. Curiosity is one thing, recklessness is another. 2. The house in Kemang, Kakrafi. The next story is not mine directly. It happened to a family known to me, and because they are still alive, I will change their names. The family lived in a 2-story rented house in Kemang, South Jakarta. The residents were Arman, his wife Nisa, and Arman's younger brother Dimas. At first, the house seemed normal. The neighborhood was modern, expensive, and crowded with cafes, offices, and luxury homes. No one would expect that kind of place to hold a disturbing atmosphere. But according to Arman, some of the strangest cases he had ever heard were connected to upscale urban neighborhoods, not remote villages. The first thing Dimas noticed happened late at night in his room. He slept on a mattress laid directly on the floor. Several times he felt the mattress sink beside him, as though another person had lain down next to him in the dark. He would reach out with his hand and feel nothing, but the space beside him remained warm, as if a body had been there only seconds earlier. On one occasion, the room felt abnormally hot, even though the air conditioner was running. Then the bathroom door, which had not been locked, refused to open. It felt as if someone was holding it shut from inside. When it finally swung open on its own, no one was there. After that, the disturbances spread through the house. Doors opened slowly by themselves at night. A folded towel flew from one side of the living room and landed on a bed, even though no one had entered. The family began hearing whispering from empty rooms. Once, the display on the air conditioner showed a string of repeating numbers that made no sense, then returned to normal before anyone could explain it. The worst incident happened when Nisa was alone in the bedroom. According to her, a shape like a wavering flame entered through the darkness near the window, then stretched upward until it resembled a tall human shadow. She tried to wake Arman and grab her phone, but her iPhone froze completely in her hand. The screen stayed lit, but it would not respond at all. Arman later called me in a panic and asked if I knew anyone who could come recite verses in the house. When I arrived, the atmosphere felt wrong immediately. It was not just fear. It was as if the house wanted to remain silent and undisturbed. A local ustaz came, recited Ruqya verses, and asked the family to stop sleeping with the room in total darkness. He also told them to keep the house filled with prayer and Quran recitation for several days. The incidents lessened after that, though Arman told me he never again felt truly comfortable in that house. They moved out within the year. 3. Narto and the Sandals Made in one night. This story took place near a small railway settlement outside Purwokerto. The man at the center of it was known locally as Narto, a poor sandal repairman who also made simple footwear by hand. He often stayed near the station late into the night because that was where laborers, porters, and travelers would sometimes bring him work. One cold night, after business had nearly died down, he heard someone calling his name. At first he was confused. The station area was nearly empty. Fog had settled over the tracks, and visibility was poor. Yet when he looked up, he saw 2 very tall men standing beyond the railway line. They told him they needed several pairs of sandals made before morning and promised excellent payment. Narto hesitated. He did not recognize them, but he was poor, and extra work meant extra food for his family. So he gathered his tools and followed them. They led him across the tracks and through an area he thought was empty land. Because of the fog, he could not see very far. After a long walk, they stopped near a large tree and told him to work there. He asked for leather, soles, and thread, and they handed him everything he needed. Then he noticed something unsettling. Every pair they ordered was exactly the same size, and all of them were unusually large. He worked through the night. Again and again, sleep overcame him, but whenever he drifted off, one of the strangers told him to continue. There was also a smell in the air like something scorched, or like smoke hanging over damp soil after a fire. When dawn finally approached, the men paid him with what looked like pieces of gold and warned him not to ask questions and not to tell anyone where he had been. Narto returned to the station, feeling tired but pleased. Yet as soon as morning light spread across the area, he realized something was terribly wrong. The surroundings looked different. There were buildings where none had stood the night before. Trees lined roads that had once been bare. When he reached his home, his shock deepened. His hut looked old and weathered, as if years had passed without repair. His wife had aged. His children were much taller. Everyone stared at him as though they had seen a ghost. Only then did he learn the truth. He had not been missing for one night. He had been gone for 5 years. People demanded to know where he had been. When he tried to sell one of the gold pieces to survive, suspicion fell on him because no one believed his story. Some said he had been kidnapped. Others said he had wandered mad for years. A few whispered that he had worked for beings not meant to be named. Tragedy followed. Not long after his return, his son died in an accident near the railway line. Within days, his young daughter began behaving strangely, repeating that she wanted to go into the water. She eventually drowned in a nearby pond. After losing both children, Narto could not bear the place any longer. He left with his wife and disappeared. Years later, someone claimed to have seen a man resembling him near Gambir Station in Jakarta. But whether it was truly Narto, no one knows. 4. The rental room that no one could keep. The last incident comes from a boarding house on the edge of Surabaya. Years ago, a young couple rented one of the back rooms. Their marriage was troubled from the beginning. The neighbors often heard arguments late into the night. Then one day the husband moved out. Not long after, the wife, whose name was later remembered as Lestari, was found dead inside the room. having taken her own life. After that, the room developed a reputation. At first, the owner hid the story so the property could still be rented. A new tenant moved in. Before long, neighbors heard more shouting from inside, even when no visitors had entered. That tenant also died unnaturally. The room was left vacant for some time, but eventually, 2 young bachelors rented it because they did not believe in ghost stories. For several weeks, they ignored the odd sounds, crying at night, a woman's angry voice, sudden knocks from inside the wall. Then one evening, while one of them was away on duty, the other was found hanging in the room. After the 3rd death, fear spread through the neighborhood. People began refusing to walk past the building after dark. The owner finally admitted that something was wrong with that room and shut it permanently. Months later, on the advice of local residents, a respected Kiai was invited to examine the place. He entered before dawn and asked to be left alone while he prayed. By sunrise, he was gone. No one saw him leave. The room was sealed after that. Even now, according to local stories, it remains unused. The rest of the building has changed tenants many times, but that one room stays closed.